Excuse me. All in the camera. Greetings and salutations. This is Outspoken Diva. Let's have a talk about it Tuesday, shall we? Uh, there's a quote I see on Twitter a lot. I guess it comes from a horror movie. I have no idea because I don't watch. If it did come from a horror movie, I don't watch horror movies because I don't like jumping around and being frightened and stuff. So, but the quote is, "The call is coming within the house." Church folks, church people, people that go to church, come have a seat. Come have a seat. Gather around. We got to talk. We should have been had this talk. This talk has been coming upon coming, years and years and years and decades and years. This needs to be, because I've been on this earth. I'm a woman of a certain age. And that should have been said before I was born. This discussion should have been had before I was born. Stop acting like y'all don't know what church hurt is. Stop acting like you don't know what church hurt is. I'm sick of it. I've heard it from numerous sources. I mean, I've heard, yeah, even my current, I was like, oh, I know you don't. Yeah, stop acting like that. Recently, within the past year, I saw a thread on Twitter, and they were asking people why did they stop going to church. And the guy who was tweet I saw, um, I thought it was quite interesting because I had been at those funerals and thought it was quite weird. You know, you're sitting there, you're broken. If you never lost anyone, you know, you may not understand. That day you are broken. You are sitting there devastated. I mean, you're hurt. I don't care. We can call it a celebration how we want to, but I have gone to a few funerals where either you have this generalized eulogy, or they talking about everything, you know, all the sin, and you know, you need to come to Jesus and all that. And I'm not saying that that's not correct, but have not given any points of comfort to the family. I've been to those funerals, and I can imagine that really, as someone, you know, who has lost people, I can imagine that hurts. You know, I know, you know, it just, it's devastating. You know, um, so I can imagine someone stop going to church or not believing in, even though if you weren't in, you know, you were of another religious, or you just didn't go to church, you know, you weren't Christian at all. I can imagine that could turn you sour. But there are other ways that are people. I don't understand how people can ask, what is church hurt? You know, there are congregations who have lost their churches because they were paying the mortgage note and everything on their building, and the financial institution that they were banking with uh, were crooked. You don't think that that church is not hurt? You don't think that the congregation, you know, there's some individuals that are sitting there wondering, can they trust any church to do right by their money? You don't think that's not hurtful? But you want to ask, what is church hurt? You don't think that there's a level of trust that's damaged? You can't sit there and say that there are people that have been victimized by church leadership in physical, sexual, emotional, and mental ways, and there have been churches that turn their back, they'll rather side up with the perpetrators as opposed to the victims and not call the police. They rather put that person out their church or sit them down or whatever they do. And some of us have sat there. That person, those victims that we know are church hurt. You can't tell me that what is church hurt. But then some of us who knew about some of these high profile cases, and instead of us praying and getting on our knees, or find and also doing our research and due diligence about if it's going on at our own churches. We buy books that want to expose mega pastors or any preachers or all that kind of stuff. Especially this one that there was one that was very horribly edited. I mean, it was all kinds of grammatical errors and stuff. Y'all want to buy that stuff, and then you want to sit up there in your own church, your local church, and discuss it, and then someone who it may not be happening, it might be happening at your church. It could be happening outside of church, and hear you talking about it and hearing your attitudes and your words about it, and you don't think that they're not traumatized and they not hurt because you sitting up there backbiting and gossiping about it at your church, buying books to expose this person, and all the while this could be happening right up under your nose, and then you wonder why someone might be church hurt. There's a quote I learned as a child. Be careful how you live because you're the only Bible that some people read. Church folks, church people, people who go to church, and anybody else that's, you know, religious, go to other religious congregations and stuff. How you as a Bible coming out? You know, everybody wanna, I hope y'all are paying attention. Sometimes I wonder, are church people, church folks, people who go to church, are we some of the worst self-unaware people walking around? I honestly, I do think that, because we're a joke to a lot of the world, and we're giving them the punchline. You can't sit up here and say that you standing outside of an abortion clinic screaming and hollering at people. Somebody's making a life and death decision whether they should or they shouldn't. That's on them. That's between them and God, okay? But you screaming and hollering at them, you don't think that's damaging to somebody? Hmm. You think pray uh, praying for African angels to be dispatched so someone uh, who's not qualified for the job can can be elected for that job? You don't think that's weird and church hurts the people? And then you used to be associated with that person that's praying, and you just walk away from them and don't talk about it. You don't think that's church hurt to somebody? Church folks, church people, people who go to church, and say I can't call us Christians because that's not none of this stuff is Christ-like. I can't call us Christians, but we need to get back to being Christians. We need to be Christians. And again, this discussion is long overdue, because these are things that I noticed a lot of this stuff that I am talking about was going on when I was a child, and was probably going on before I was ever even thought of. Okay, I know some of it is because I know some of the cases. Like I said, I was talking about somebody being raped and molested. I know some churches that put the pastor out. I heard of it. That's why that he's the pastor somewhere else. And people were like, there was a girl that I went to school with. I couldn't go to her church because her pastor got put out of another church because he had raped some girls back in the 60s. So it can be done. There are things that we can be doing. But we rather discuss what is church hurt. Church hurt is more than just somebody. They wouldn't let me sing my song. You know, they won't let me use my gifts at your local church. It's more than that, and y'all know. Stop being. Don't be cute. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb on purpose. Don't be woefully stupid. Okay, we got to do better. Cause again, we have given the world the punchline to make fun of us. Okay, and I'd rather be a person who, a church person, a person that goes to church. I'd rather be the person to tell y'all that than somebody else do. because I'm being nice. Somebody else is aiming to hurt your feelings. All right? Let's do better, people. Let's do better. In Jesus' name. I think, I think that'll work. I think that's appropriate for me to say that. Yeah, in Jesus' name. Okay? Other than that, we can discuss it. We can discuss it. My comments are open on the blog, on the video, and on the social media sites that you see this on. And then, the email is there. If you want to, be very lengthy about it, the email is there also, okay? Like I say, we got to do better, guys. All right? Other than that, talking to you in adult terms.